The case opens with the mother already in trouble before any evidence is even heard. She had notice, she had a reset, and she had an attorney appointed, yet she still was not present when the hearing started.
All right, thank y'all. Okay, Ms. Stevens, I understand your predicament, but she's more than aware of this today and is obviously choosing not to log in with us. So we really do need to move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and allow the department to put their case on. So Ms. Powell, who's your first witness?
A petitioner calls Yvette Flores.
All right, Ms. Flores, if you can do, yeah, there we go. If you'll raise your right hand, you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth today.
I do.
All right. Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Flores, please state your name.
My name is Yvette Flores.
And how are you currently employed?
I am with child investigations with the department.
And are you familiar with the case involving the children Nicole Castaneda, Josiah Castaneda, and Mariposa Castaneda?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you familiar with the case?
I've been the caseworker working with the family since I got the intake on March 20th.
Okay. And March 20th of what year?
2026.
And why did you become involved with the family?
We received concerns of neglectful supervision of Leslie with the children, and they neglectful supervision of them, yes.
Okay. And I should have probably asked, who is the children's mother?
Leslie Castaneda.
Okay. And when you receive, who is the children have several different alleged fathers, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the judge mentioned those names, Brannick Dixon, and who is Brannick Dixon the alleged father of?
Josiah Castaneda.
Who is Jose Juarez the alleged father of?
Mariposa Castaneda.
And then Aaron Lancaster, who is deceased, is the alleged father of which child?
Nicole Castaneda.
Okay. Now, when you received the report on March 20th, what steps did you take to work the case?
So I initially went to speak with Nicole before going to the home, and I visited with her at the school. And then after that, I was informed that Josiah was not at school that day. So I went to the family home on 306 North Kentucky, where I visited with Leslie, and I observed Josiah.
Okay, what was the condition of the home when you got there?
The condition of the home was extremely cluttered. There was various items all over the floor, all over the home. While I just remained at that time in the living room, but she did have in the middle of the living room a pack and play in there that she said that was given to her from the previous case. And so the conditions did not seem appropriate for Mariposa, especially I discussed with mom because Mariposa was 5 months at the time, and it's around this age where they start standing or sitting up and crawling, and so I did not feel that the home was in an inappropriate condition for the children.
Okay, and was the family living with anybody?
Yes, so they live with Teresa Sanchez and her cousin Edwin. Edwin Castaneda.
Okay. Did you have discussions with the mother in regards to just basic care of the children, feeding, sleeping, bathing, those types of issues?
Yes, ma'am. So I discussed with her to kind of go over what her daily routine is with the children, with Mariposa. She didn't understand what I was saying. I had to ask several times, rephrase the questions until she finally said that she bathes Mariposa every other day, and she could not give me a clear answer despite my efforts of trying to help her understand by rephrasing my questions and reiterating that.
Was mother's inability to comprehend your questions and provide information concerning to you?
Yes, it was.
Why is that?
It was concerning to me because if she was not able to comprehend just basic questions like that, then it just didn't seem like she would be plausible to be able to care for the children. Just simple tasks as bathing them and things like that. She was not able to deliver an answer, giving the indication that there's not a routine, that she doesn't care for them appropriately. And so that was concerning for me.
Did you observe any concerning behavior by the mother towards the children while you were present that day?
Yes, ma'am. So one of the things I noticed is while I was visiting the second time I went with Teresa, when her mother Teresa was there, Mariposa got fussy, and Teresa was the one that picked her up and fed her with the bottle. I ended up after speaking with Teresa and Leslie, I went back to my car to staff with my supervisor, Supervisor Pierce. Upon returning back to the home, I observed Mariposa changing. Nicole changing Mariposa's diaper. And so then I was discussing with her kind of the steps on what we need to do. And I observed her speaking harshly to Josiah for putting his feet on her lap.
And back up, you're using her. Who was speaking harshly to Josiah?
Leslie was speaking harshly to Josiah for putting his feet on her lap. Just very cold mannerisms is what I've observed with her as well during my interactions.
In your observations, did it appear that other people in the family, including the child Nicole, was really caring for the younger children?
Absolutely, yes. Various times, even while visiting with Nicole, on my initial visit with her at the school, she said that her mother Leslie, had told her that it was her responsibility to care for Mariposa and to kind of take on that role. And also when we were having, when they came to the office to have with the family, Nicole and the children, and Leslie came to the office to have a family team meeting. Nicole was observed getting Mariposa out of the car, putting her into the stroller, and bringing her into the building without Leslie acknowledging or engaging in that interaction at all.
And for clarification, how old is Nicole?
Nicole is 9.
Okay.
The department shows the children were not just living in a cluttered home. They were relying on other people to fill the parenting gap. Nicole, only 9 years old, is described as helping care for the younger child, and that changes the tone of the hearing.
Now, you mentioned them coming to the department. What date did the family come to the department or go to the department?
I believe, sorry, give me a second. April 3rd.
And what was that April 3rd meeting in regards to?
It was a family team meeting. We were present with our facilitator and my supervisor, Dustin Pierce. It was in regard to kind of coming up with a solution on what was going to happen next. Leslie was okay with the children staying with her sister Wendy over the weekend to kind of figure out long-term solution or long-term goals on what we need to do for her and the children, how we can get them into a better situation or help assist them into a better situation. And so that was what that discussion was about. What was going to happen long-term? What are the goals long-term? And she was okay with the children staying with her sister Wendy for the weekend while we kind of navigate that.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that meeting was an effort to prevent the removal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then what happened that the department ultimately determined that these children needed to be removed?
So the children did stay the weekend with her sister Wendy Castaneda. I learned that I believe it was Tuesday, the following Tuesday, that when I spoke with Leslie, she had Mariposa and she went to Lubbock. And Wendy was not responding to my calls or text messages. I was attempting to revisit the home and visit with Christian, her significant other, and I could not get a hold of him either. She could not give me a time where I can revisit with her and Christian. And so I received a full call from Teresa Sanchez stating that Wendy was no longer able to care for the children and the children are back in the home with her. She reiterated that she didn't want Leslie or the children in the home with her. And so that's kind of where we decided that it was a removal was needed.
Okay, so was there a safe, at the time you sought removal, was there a safe place for these children to reside?
No, there was not.
Okay, and the one kind of safety net, would it be fair to say the kind of safety net had said, no, I'm not going to do this any longer?
That's correct.
Okay. To your knowledge, where is the mother, Leslie Castaneda, currently residing?
To my knowledge, she is still residing with Teresa Sanchez, her mother, in the home on 306 North Kentucky. When I last spoke with her and visited with her, she was still there in the home. She did say that she and her mother kind of have not spoken. And so that's kind of where the last, to my knowledge, that's where she was last residing.
Okay, and to your knowledge, it was very clear that the children could not continue in that home, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, now has Miss Castaneda participated in family-based services before?
Yes, ma'am. She has, it's been 4 cases previously that she's participated in. One of those being in order to participate and one being with TFF that she did not complete.
Okay, hold on. Judge, did you just see that message that came through from Miss Mills?
Nope. Hang on, let me look.
Oh. We just got a message from Miss Mills that mom texted and needs the link to the hearing. Corey, can you send her that link? Oh, she's sending it now.
All right, go ahead, Miss Powell.
Okay. So I lost Miss Flores. Sorry. So Miss Flores, would this have been appropriate to refer to FBSS again?
No, ma'am.
Even through an FBSS case, would the department have been able to provide safety for these children?
No.
Okay. And do you believe that the removal of the children was in the children's best interest?
Yes.
Are you asking today that the department be named temporary managing conservator of the children?
Yes.
Okay. And you're not asking for any type of child support or medical support. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you believe that those requests are in these children's best interest?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I pass the witness.
Are we gonna
Okay.
wait for my client, Your Honor?
She's logging in right now. So what I'm going to do is, let's make sure we have a good connection with her. And then I'm going to put, all right, Miss Castaneda, can you unmute for me? Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Oh.
I'm going to put you into a breakout room with your attorney so you can speak with her privately. What I'm going to do is we're going to jump over to our next case because my understanding is it's going to be an announcement, an agreement. And to give Ms. Stevens an opportunity to visit with Ms. Castaneda before we start any cross-examination of the department's witness. So,
The mother finally appears, but the damage is already on the record. The judge does the right thing by giving her time to speak privately with her attorney, but late participation does not erase testimony. Then the court shifts to another case, and the contrast is sharp.
I will put Ms. Mills, Ms. Flores, I'm going to put you all back into the waiting room. And when we're ready, I'll bring you back in. Mr. Pierce, are you here as well on the other case? Or just on this one?
I'm sorry, it took me a second. Just on the Castaneda case.
Okay, I'll put you back in the waiting room, bring you back in when we're ready to resume.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I'm not on that one, so I can either
Yeah.
just turn off my camera or you can put me in the waiting room, but I'm going to step away and get me some water.
I'm gonna put you in the waiting room. I've got lots of folks in to bring in on this next one.
Okay. I'm going to step away.
All right, Miss Stevens, let me get you all set up. So, Ms. Castaneda, you're going to get a prompt to go to room 3. You can say join.
Okay.
All right. And I'll put Ms. Stevens in there with you. All right. Let me start getting everybody in on that one. Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor.
Just barely. Good morning. I've recessed my other case. My understanding is we've got an announcement on this case.
That's my understanding as well. I spoke at length with mother's attorney this morning, Ms. Grant, and I believe we're prepared to announce an agreement.
Right, and it appears I've got Mr. Barkley, Mr. Henry, and Mr. Weist all logged in as well. So, okay.
I
Your
think
Honor, you may possibly have a phone number in the waiting room. They're doing magistrations, so if you see a phone number pop in, Katie will be appearing by phone in only, not video.
Right, and we don't have the jail. We don't have anybody in right now, but I'll keep
Okay.
an eye on it.
Thank you,
Right.
Judge. I confirmed with them this morning, but they were awfully busy, so they may be juggling over there.
Okay.
And I understand there's also a request by mother through her attorney to go off YouTube just because of the sensitive nature of some of the testimony that we would have if we were putting on a hearing. I'll defer to the court, but the department has no objection if we went off YouTube.
Well, I mean, is everybody in agreement? So,
I believe so.
so we aren't going to get into specifics. So, and it really would be if there were going to be something about the child. So, so I don't think that, it's going to be necessary, at least today. All right, then. I will call cause number 100-887-1. This is the interest of Cecilia Henry. We are here today scheduled for an adversary hearing in this matter. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're currently live streaming, and Ms. Goodman is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Morning, Your Honor. Counsel Gene Graff and Malia Evans on behalf of the department, present, ready to proceed.
Stacy Grant on behalf of the mother, Katie Quackenbush, and as previously announced, Your Honor, my client would be appearing via telephone and could pop up in the waiting room if we could just keep an eye out for her.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the child.
All right, and Mr. Barkley is present with us today, correct?
Yes.
All right, sir, and Mr. Henry is present.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I'm here.
All right, Mr. Wiest is also present. Or who is? Let me make sure. Did we lose him?
I
Nope,
still
he's
show him.
Yeah, he's still logged in. Mr. Wiest, can you unmute for me?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, very good. All right then, Mr. Groff, if you want to go ahead and tell me what we think everybody's agreed to.
And Your Honor, may I make a brief motion that the witnesses be removed since we have an agreement and they can, there's a witness, Josie Dodge, that I don't think Mr. Graff intends to call.
Well, now that we have an agreement, then no, Ms. Dodge can be excluded.
Thank you, Judge, or thank you, Jean, sorry.
All right, Ms. Zavala, any objection to releasing that witness?
I have no objection.
Okay, Ms. Dodge, thank you very much for logging in today, but you're free to go at this time. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dodge.
The second case turns into a paternity problem more than a placement fight. There are multiple possible fathers, and the court needs answers fast. The department's strategy is smart. Test everyone at the same time instead of dragging the case through one man after another.
So as far as the agreement, Judge, the mother is agreeing to the continued out-of-home placement. The placement is acceptable to the department. She's kind of a fictive kin, family friend, and the department has vetted her and agrees to continued placement with that individual. And I guess mom will agree to services. Obviously, we'll address those at the status hearing. But at this point in time, she's incarcerated. So I don't know what she'll be able to do in the short run. Hopefully she can resolve her legal matters. But we'll address those with a family plan of service at the status hearing. With regard to the paternity, we essentially have two presumed fathers because the mother is still, to our knowledge, legally married to Mr. Wiest. Mr. Henry, however, has signed an acknowledgement of paternity. So both gentlemen, to our understanding, wish to undergo paternity testing. Mr. Barclay has just been identified. I don't want to speak for him, but it's my understanding he's also willing and interested in having testing done. I'll just let Ms. Grant know that after she and I spoke, I was informed by my legal assistant that we have the ability to do concurrent paternity testing now, where previously we had to do it consecutively. So if all these gentlemen wish to be tested, I think it's in the child's best interest to address paternity at the earliest, figure out who the dad is at the earliest possibility. So if they're all willing to be tested, we would obviously facilitate that.
Okay, Mr. Barkley, do you wish to be have the genetic testing done?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, all right, and then Mr. Henry, I believe you do, correct? Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Sorry.
All right, and Mr. Wiest, same with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, since we can do that all at the same time, let's roll with it. Get me the orders, I'll sign them, and let's get it done.
And then the
glad
only
that
issue,
everything-
Judge, I'm sorry. Sorry,
I apologize.
Associate.
I was
Go ahead.
unaware, Judge, we could do it concurrently now, so that's good news, and we are all for that.
And then the only outstanding issue, Judge, is we would make an oral motion to find that the documents in the case are confidential. I understand from a colleague that you were waiting for authority from the presiding judge. I don't know if you have that authority yet, but we're going to go ahead and make that motion for the record.
I do not have the go ahead on that at this point in time.
Okay.
So,
And I think my colleague and my legal assistant had worked out some language to that effect that we'll put in the order that just says the motion is made, but the court is not ready to be able to make a finding on that. So we'll be satisfied with that if the court's okay with that.
sure.
Great.
All right, let me just speak real quickly to Mr. Barkley, Mr. Henry, and Mr. Weist. Gentlemen, in these kinds of cases, you do have the right to be represented by counsel. I understand that the penultimate question here is paternity. Who of the three of you is the father? But in our cases, we try to work with the family and work services with parents. It's fine for you to wait to start any of those services until we know who the father is, but it does, whoever it turns out to be, it does kind of put you behind the eight ball, if it is you, then you've got to really get in gear and do some things. Okay. Now, depending on who that turns out to be could also affect what services might be requested. So, clearly, two of you are what I would say fall into a category as a non-offending parent in this case. Mr. Henry had more involvement in the reasons for removal. I'm not assigning blame, and that's not when I say a non-offending, I'm not trying to assign blame. That's not what it is. It's just a term that we use. But Mr. Barkley nor Mr. Weist were actively involved in the reasons for removal. So, I can't tell you exactly what those things would look like at this point, but, you each have the right to submit some paperwork to me to see if you qualify for a court-appointed attorney. I can review that and determine if you do, and go ahead and appoint counsel to be representing you, to be advising you, guiding you through this process. You can, the same thing, you can wait and we can see who is the dad. And at that time I can appoint an attorney, but I just want each of you to understand that the clock is still ticking. Generally speaking, our cases, we start and we need to wrap them up within a 12-month time frame. There are some bases to extend that for an additional 6 months, but not in every case. So it could be several months before we get all the determination of paternity back. My hope is we would get that maybe within 60 days. But just so kind of you've been forewarned, that timetable is.
The judge makes the timeline clear. These cases do not sit open forever. That puts pressure on everyone, especially the possible fathers. The court is basically telling them that delay has consequences, even when nobody is trying to delay on purpose.
And that the clock is ticking. So I'm going to ask each of you, kind of what you want to do. Mr. Barkley, do you want to wait?
Yeah, you can wait.
Okay. All right, Mr. Henry.
I'm gonna go ahead and wait as well.
Okay.
I know I had involvement. I don't take offense to you saying I was part of it and everything, but I understand.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm not assigning any kind of blame when I use that term. It is a term that we use.
Yes, sure.
Mr. Weist.
I believe I've already got the paperwork.
Okay.
I'll get that filled out and back to y'all.
Okay. All right. Very good. And I'll take a look at that. Okay, then. Ms. Grant, does this sound like what you and your client have agreed to?
It is, Your Honor. And just for the information to pass on to St. Francis when they assign the caseworker, there are classes that are loaded onto the tablets at Potter County, and Ms. Quackenbush does have access to those classes and has started taking those as her best effort in her current situation to do some type of service. So I would just ask that when this passes from investigations to the case management area, that they review those classes and understand that it's really all she can do, but maybe they will be helpful.
Okay. Yep. Fair enough. All right then. So Mr. Barkley, this sound fair to you? You're willing for the department to take what we call custody of the child at this point in time and be the decision maker for the child?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and we'll get the genetic testing ordered and try to get that behind us. All right, Mr. Henry, same, you're willing for the department to have the custody of the child at this point in time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and Mr. Weist?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you all appearing today. Thank you for your cooperation, and they will be in contact with you about this genetic testing. I will just tell you all that it is really important when you get that appointment to show up for that appointment, because if you miss it, it's going to put us really behind, and it could take another couple months to get another appointment. So, it's just, short of you being so sick you can't climb in your car and go have a cheek swab done, it's just really important that you get there when that time is assigned to you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay then. Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, I do believe that this agreement is in Cecilia's best interest.
Okay. All right, then at this time, I do find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the child, Cecilia Henry, and that there would be a continuing danger to return the child home at this time. We've got paternity issues that we need to resolve, and we will initiate that immediately. I'm not going to order any kind of child support or medical support for any parent at this point in time, alleged or otherwise. And obviously the department in St. Francis will be talking with parents about services and all of those issues. So I'll sign the order when it's presented to me, and we will have our status hearing on June 9th of 2026. That will be on a 9 o'clock docket. So each of you will be given, notice of that. It'll be in this order, but you can log in. That will be by Zoom unless you're told otherwise. So I'll see you all back on June 9th.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Gruff,
Judge.
get me some orders and we'll get them going.
We'll get those right out, Judge, and I want to thank Ms. Grant for her efforts in trying to resolve this matter. I know she worked really hard, and glad we were able to come to an agreement.
All right. Thank you all. All of you are free to go. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
This is my last
Thank you.
matter. I'll sign off with your permission, Judge.
Yes, sir. Have a good rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, Jody, hopefully we won't be too much longer here.
You're on. Oh, we don't have everybody yet. I'll wait.
Yeah, let me get everybody back in.
When the first case resumes, the mother's attorney tries to stabilize things by saying the mother is willing to work services. That helps slightly, but it does not fix the bigger problem. The evidence has already shown unsafe conditions, failed placements, and a long history with services.
Okay, Jody, hopefully we won't be too much longer here.
Did we lose my client?
I do not have her logged in anymore. I just checked the breakout rooms and she's not in there.
Okay, I think she got confused and hung up when everybody else hung up, but I don't know if this is helpful at all.
Can you hold that thought 1 second?
Yes.
I think I've got the jail finally logging in on something we just finished. So hang on real quick. Okay, this is Judge Baker. If you can unmute that device, I think maybe this is the jail calling in. Okay, I think that's probably Ms. Quackenbush that's on the phone. Can you all unmute so I can determine? What is it, *6? We can try that. I don't know if it will help. Okay, I need somebody to unmute this device for me.
Hello?
Yes. It's Judge Baker. Who am I speaking with?
This is Katie Quackenbush.
All right, Ms. Quackenbush. We just finished your hearing. They announced the agreements.
Yes, ma'am.
I've let everybody go. I'm sorry, but we didn't get you logged in. I guess the jail didn't get you logged in timely. So I'm sure Ms. Grant will be reaching out to you, but we've got the agreement announced, and we're going to get the genetic testing underway.
Okay.
And then I'll see you back on June 9th for your status hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it, and you're free to go.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
You have a good day.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Thank y'all. Okay, Ms. Stevens, my apologies. Back to you.
Yes, Your Honor. Before my client dropped off, and I don't know if you want to make a record of that, she and I did speak in a breakout room, and she is willing to work services. So I don't know if that helps expedite today at all.
Certainly should, yes. Give me just a quick second.
Oh, and Melinda, she did verify for me that the number, the 1308, is the correct one.
Okay. I've been accused of writing like a boy, so I should have been able to read her handwriting.
Do you know my sister writes just like a guy, and she hates it because my mother has the most beautiful handwriting, and I did until I became a lawyer, and there's just too much writing now.
Mm-hmm.
So don't feel bad about boy handwriting.
All right, then. Ms. Powell, you've heard Ms. Stevens, and as her client is willing to agree.
Based upon that, I rest. And can I go ahead and I know she showed up and then we went to recess. Can I mark that she's present or that she is here?
She may be logging back in right now.
Okay.
I just brought her in, so let me just make sure. Miss Castaneda, is that you again? Okay, Miss Castaneda, can you unmute for me? She's logged back in under Ms. Mills' names. That's why I think it's her again. But all right, Miss Castaneda, there you go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Ms. Stevens has announced that you're willing to agree to the department being named temporary managing conservator. So is you have any questions?
I do not have any questions, Your Honor, and my client didn't have any questions before she dropped off. She's been through this a couple times, so she understands the process.
Okay.
And to let the court know, there has been the name of a kinship or a relative that was submitted to Ms. Flores. Ms. Flores has sent that information to St. Francis, to my knowledge. So there should be, Corey, do you have that?
Yes, I do. I have spoken with the sister Laura. She can only take Mariposa and Josiah. And it was my understanding from Dustin that that they were initiating those home studies for her. And then Wendy.
The mother's control starts slipping in real time. She says she does not want certain relatives watching the children, but the judge and department have to separate emotion from actual placement options. The grandmother is not really an option because the children were removed from that home.
Said that she would take Nicole, but since she was the failed safety.
No, I don't want her to go with her.
Hang on a minute. Just a second, Ms. Mills. Let her finish, and then I'll give you a chance to tell us.
That's Miss Castaneda.
I mean, Miss Castaneda.
Sorry.
I got to change her name. Yeah. Go ahead, Ms. Mills.
But I don't know if Wendy will be eligible after what I just heard in the adversary about her not being able to care for the kids over the weekend.
So,
right, so
obviously, Judge, oh, go ahead.
So, Ms. Castaneda, who are you saying you do not want?
I don't want my twin nor my mom to watch them. Period. At all. Can we agree to that or no?
Ms. Castaneda, this is Bethany, your attorney. Are you saying you would rather them be placed in foster care with strangers than with family?
What is that?
Are you saying that you
Bethany,
would rather them?
You want to go back in a room with her?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me put you back in a room with her.
And before Bethany leaves, I don't think that the mother, she just said she didn't want the child placed with her mom. I don't think that's an option anyways from the children were living in that home when removed. So
we're not looking at placing the kids with the grandmother.
No.
We are looking at the sister.
Probably not Wendy, who was the safety placement, but the potentially, what did you say her name was, Corey?
Her name's Laura, but she cannot take Nicole, only Mariposa and Josiah. And so
that's not a great option either for only two of the kids.
Okay, so let me just ask Ms. Castaneda, if we had to, for at least for now, place the two children with this person, is that okay? Ms. Castaneda? Okay, Ms. Castaneda, are you there? Okay, I can't until I can hear her. So
If it helps.
So we're still sort of working our way through this. Right,
Yes.
she's logging in again. She's logging in again.
Okay, and the kids aren't all placed together right now anyways.
The two older are together. They're in the same basic area, but they're not in the same placement.
Did we just lose my client again?
She came in on a different device, so I've removed the device we lost her on, and hopefully we have her on this one. Ms. Castaneda, can you hear me? All right, Ms. Castaneda, can you hear me? All right, so let me come back then. So Ms. Flores, excuse me, Ms. Mills, so we're just still exploring what our options are as far as placement?
Yes, I believe we're going to go forward with a home study on Laura. But Leslie has expressed that she does not want the children to go with her, and she does not want Laura to even have visitation with the children. But she is perfectly appropriate. I ran her CPS and her background, and she's clean. And she's willing to take them. She is living in New Mexico, so an ICPC will have to be done.
Oh, so we're not talking about anything that's going to happen anytime soon.
Correct.
Okay, so if Ms. Castaneda, if you can hear me, since she's out of state, this placement with her is not going to happen. It could be months and months before we would even be looking at that. So I think that's not like a burning concern at the moment. We can initiate it, but you know, we can also say that before any placement change happens, we would get together and hear everybody out about why the kids should or should not go there. But that's, you know, since she's in New Mexico, it's not going to happen anytime soon. And your attorney can explain that at greater length to you. All right.
Who's in New Mexico?
I'm sorry?
Who's in New Mexico?
Somebody named Laura?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They want to do what that's called an ICPC home study on her, which we have to have before I could even consider placing the children there. And those can take months to get those done.
It's like a background check?
Well, it's more than a background check. But it's a full-blown home study, but by federal law, since she's out of state and I would be sending the children out of state, I have to have this full home study, and they take a long time to get. So I'm just telling you that
the mother starts naming more relatives, and the court tries to turn that confusion into something useful. She suggests splitting the children between family members, but the department only has solid information on some people. That is the problem. Names are not enough.
The children aren't going to be placed with her anytime in the near future.
So where are they going to go?
Well, they're in different foster placements at the moment, correct, Ms. Mills?
Where's Burger King?
Josiah and Nicole are both at the Children's Home of Lubbock Emergency Shelter. That's only a 90-day shelter. And Mariposa is in a wonderful foster home in Lubbock. So at least they're all in Lubbock.
So Ms. Castaneda, the answer is that they're looking for a placement, presumably maybe that can take all of the children, so they would be together.
Okay, I'll let my twin take them, or Alondra could take Nicole, and Wendy, my twin, could take the two small babies. All right, thank you. Is that possible or no?
Okay, I didn't hear the first person. Who did you say?
I said my twin could take the two small babies, and then Alondra could take Nicole. Is that possible or no? Since y'all are saying that they can't go with my older sister.
Okay, you say your twin. I don't know what your twin's name is. So can you give me a name?
It's Wendy.
Okay, all right. I'm confused. Which children do you want to go with Wendy?
The two small ones.
So Mariposa and Josiah?
Yeah.
And then what about Nicole?
Should I go with Alondra? Is that possible or no?
I don't know who Alondra is, so.
My other sister.
Your other sister?
Yeah.
The one in New Mexico?
No.
Okay.
She's in Amarillo. Wendy and Alondra are in Amarillo.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't know your family, ma'am. I'm just trying to find out who all these people are. So, Ms. Mills, are we looking at that as a possibility?
The only person that has reached out to me is Laura. I have Wendy in the persons list. I did not know about Alondra until just now. But I will try to track down some information, and we can get some home studies going for, we can get these referred, both of them, because we would love to have them back in Amarillo.
Okay, so Ms. Castaneda, they're gonna try to make contact with them and talk with them and see if that would be an appropriate thing to do, okay?
Yes, that works.
Okay. All right. It would help if you could give that information, their full names and phone numbers to Ms. Mills or to your attorney, just so that they've got all that information, okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay, then, I do find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of all three children. And I would find that there would be a continuing danger to return the children home at this time. We'll talk more about services at our next hearing. And we'll look at some of these relative placements and do appropriate home studies as we've been discussing today. No child support or medical supports being ordered in the case. So I'll see everybody back for our status hearing on June 9th of 2026. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket.
The department gets temporary managing conservatorship. The court finds continuing danger if the children return home, and relative placements will be explored. The mother's influence now depends on staying reachable and cooperating. The strongest theme in this hearing is control versus safety. The mother wants control over relatives, placement, and who gets access to the children. But the record shows the department stepped in because control at home had already broken down. The court does not ignore her wishes, but it will not let her preferences outrank safety checks. That is why the judge keeps asking for names, studies, timelines, and legal process. The mother's late arrival, connection issues, and changing placement ideas all make her look unprepared for the seriousness of the case. By the end, the court leaves the door open for family placement, but only if the facts support it.